sometimes we actually have neighboring inclusions that are touching. Rather than one being inside the other, we actually have two inclusions. So you could have chromite and olivine sort of nestled together in one sort of cavity within the diamond. That also occurs, and we call those touching inclusions. And if they weren't touching, then they would be totally isolated and separated from one another. Here's an oddball inclusion. So this is one that you wouldn't really think is that unusual if it weren't for the fact that it has this kind of hazy looking brown glow to it. So this inclusion here, this sort of yellowish or brownish inclusion, has some kind of brown rim or halo. And we recognize this as radiation damage. Quite often, diamonds from alluvial settings where they've been washed up against sediments, those diamonds can have radiation damage. We see little spots on the surface of the diamond that can be brown or green, and that's due to radiation damage of the external skin of the diamond. But in this case, it's very unusual because we have radiation damage, this brown haze kind of feature, inside a diamond surrounding this inclusion. And it gives us a hint that this inclusion probably has some kind of radioactive atoms in it, has some kind of radioactive product that's causing radiation damage in the surrounding diamond. And I did Raman spectroscopy on this particular mineral inclusion and found that it is a very rare kind of inclusion in diamond. It's called monazite. And the most common kind of monazite is cerium-rich monazite. It's like a cerium phosphate mineral. But it's also possible to have these other elements substituting in there. And one of the elements that can substitute into this crystal is thorium. And thorium can be radioactive. So in this case, it's probably the thorium content of this monazite crystal that's causing this radiation halo, this damaged halo around this inclusion. And here you can see the Raman spectrum corresponding to monazite. This is how we were able to identify what mineral this actually is. Now, so far we've just been talking about diamonds from the lithosphere, from the cratonic sort of keel, that thickest, oldest part of continent where it's maybe 150 to 200 kilometers deep. But there are occasionally diamonds that come from deeper down in the earth, and we call those sublithospheric minerals, sublithospheric diamonds, or super deep diamonds. And what kinds of mineral inclusions do we see in those diamonds? Well, the story, in a way, extends from what we see in these shallower diamonds. So we were talking about peridotite and eclogite as being sort of the dominant host rocks for diamonds. And on the vertical scale here, we've got depth. So this is 200 kilometers deep. So a lot of diamonds that we've been looking at so far have minerals like these. They have olivine, garnets, chrome dioxides, or enstatite if they're in a peridotite bulk composition. Or we could have these orange garnets or ophiditic clinopyroxene if the host rock is an eclogite. And if we were to take these rock types and bring them down deeper into the earth, 300, 400, 500 kilometers or deeper, the effective pressure and temperature on these rocks means that some minerals become unstable and new minerals form. So for instance, olivine doesn't exist anymore if you take it down deeper than 400 or 500 kilometers, and the crystal structure changes. So we see changes to the mineralogy of both of these kinds of rocks. And sometimes we see these new minerals appearing in diamonds. So things like majoritic garnet, garnet that has more silica in it than it really should because of the effective pressure. And when we find these high pressure minerals, we know that this diamond must have come from a deeper environment. So sometimes we've even found diamonds that look like they come from the lower mantle, below about 660 kilometers depth. And some of these diamonds contain pairs of something called ferropericlase, which is a magnesium iron oxide, together with a magnesium silicate called bridgmanite. And this, we think, is good evidence to say that this diamond must have come from the lower mantle and couldn't have come from shallower depths. Now, I'm not going to go into detail here, but I just want to show you one example of what this ferropericlase mineral looks like, because I think, and a lot of other people would agree with me, that this is one of the most beautiful inclusions in diamonds. And this is actually the inclusion I showed you earlier, this vibrantly colored sort of purple, green, blue inclusion in this diamond. And the color that we see is actually iridescent color. So it's just sort of an effect of light interfering with something we don't fully understand at the surface of this mineral inclusion. And if you change the angle of your viewing or the angle of the light on this specimen, you see different colors appearing. So I've got a picture here of the same inclusion viewed from a slightly different angle, and it looks a totally different color. It's almost like a peacock kind of color inclusion. And we see a similar phenomenon to this in oil slicks on puddles or in soap bubbles. It's an interference kind of color. So it's caused by white light interfering with itself, and some colors are constructively interfered and they appear as vibrant colors, while other colors are destructively interfered and those colors are not pronounced. So this is something that we see in soap bubbles or in oil slicks, or even in fractures. For instance, you might have seen this in quartz. Quartz often has very thin fractures in it that have this same kind of iridescent appearance, again, due to thin film interference. So the white light is interacting with this tiny, tiny air gap where this fracture enters this piece of quartz. And we see a whole bunch of colors in here, the same kinds of colors we would see in a soap bubble or an oil slick. And these are the same kinds of rainbow colors we see in ferropericlase inclusions. Here's one more example of a ferropericlase inclusion with this sort of peacock play of colors. But if we view this same inclusion at a slightly different angle and get the lighting just right, we can see the interior of this inclusion, and the interior is actually brown. So the mineral itself is more of a brown color, and this beautiful color that we see is just an effect at the surface of that inclusion. And I'll show you one more example of ferropericlase, and that's here. So I showed you this diamond earlier. It's this fancy blue diamond with these black inclusions in it.